Ladies and gentlemen, Bonnie Glick, Director at the Krach Institute for Tech Diplomacy at Purdue, and David Urbanek, Executive Vice President of Manufacturing and Quality at Elanco.
David, it's so great to be here with you. I wish it could be in person, but I'm happy at least to be in a virtual fireside chat with you. And I see you have the fireplace behind you. I guess this way, neither one of us will get too close to the flames, or if we do, we won't do any permanent damage. Hey, first of all, I want to introduce you and Elanco to our audience. Dave Urbanek is the Executive Vice President for Manufacturing and Quality at Elanco. David, a mechanical engineer by training, has spent his career in the pharma industry, first with Eli Lilly and now with Elanco, which was a spin-off of Lilly's animal pharma business into an independent and now $15 billion corporation. Elanco Animal Health, incorporated today, produces medicines and vaccinations for pets and livestock with products that are sold in 90 different countries, over 200 brands. We were talking about this earlier. There are 14,000 SKUs and around 10,000 employees all over the world. Dave, what I'd like to do today is familiarize our audience with the work you do at Elanco through the lens of global manufacturing and distribution. As I noted, Elanco has products sold throughout the world. That's an extremely complex supply chain. We don't often think about the parallels between production for animals and production for humans, but the reality is that the supply chains are very close and nearly identical in terms of how complex they are. Animals are critical to our lives for companionship and mental health, as well as for nutrition and food security. This came home to roost, so to speak, during the COVID pandemic, when so many people acquired pets or took extra special care of their pets. But we're seeing it across the US now as it relates to avian flu and the need to cull poultry holdings to stop that from spreading. Also seeing it around the world with African swine flu. So could you please explain to us the role that Elanco plays in supplying the world's animal pharma to the animal and pet industries?
Well, so first of all, thank you for the time, and I'm glad I get to speak with you, Bonnie, in the audience today. So Elanco, as you said, we actually started in 1954. We spun out a couple of years ago from Lilly, but we're top four in all of our key brands, and we're in 90 countries. So the supply chain is a critical aspect of how we do business, and it's never been more challenging. I listened a little bit to the gentleman speaking before, but shortage of drivers, shortage of shipping. If you go to the Long Beach shore, if you go to the harbors on the East Coast, they're completely jammed up, 60, 90 days back. And complexity is really the biggest challenge that we face in supply chain. Again, 14,000 SKUs we supply throughout the world. And we believe what we do is critically important because, as you said, companionship is so important these days. With COVID, working from home, people hadn't seen their families for weeks, months, years. You hear the stories of people that are ill, that they can't visit. I know in a few cases myself. I was telling Bonnie before we came on, we actually got 2 dogs during COVID for those same reasons, COVID dogs, 2 little French bulldogs. So that companionship is compelling and important to our cause. Our need to access medicines and things that drive protein access to the world. And the other thing that we're digging into really is sustainability. I know this conference talks about sustainability a lot, but we're looking at products that you can get better value, better productivity for your animals, which actually lower your footprint, which improves sustainability. We've got a product called Experior that we're launching that really drives the reduction in methane. Think about your cows in your pastures and reducing methane, which impacts the carbon footprint. So a lot of good things, but the complexity is enormous. I would say in the human pharma industry, it's key, but the product families are smaller and then by definition bigger. In a company like ours that has 14,000 SKUs that goes to 90 different countries, how we get there, planes, trains, and automobiles is hugely complex and hugely important of how we connect with our customers and our commercial and regulatory teams as well.
Dave, you talked about the supply chain and some of the complexities associated with it, but how can Elanco help its customers overcome these kinds of supply chain disruptions? And I do want to point to two really different customer sets. There's the pet owner customer set, and there's also the agricultural, animal husbandry, poultry, livestock customer set. So there are real concerns about getting what is needed. In the pre-COVID days, we could look at doing that just in time, but as you noted, with 60 to 90 day backlogs, that's far more complex. How do customers plan for, adjust, et cetera?
Well, everything we do at Elanco at the end of the day is centered around the customer. So it's really creating the partnerships and the collaborations to understand what their demand is. Are there best practices that we've developed or that we're learning from other companies to ensure products? With our acquisition of Bayer Animal Health, our digital footprint has improved. So we have a lot more direct to customer. So it isn't just I have to go to the veterinarian and in the case of COVID, wait outside till the nurse practitioner or the technician brings it. But just think of Amazon and the different ways we ship a lot of products direct to consumer right now. So we've done that. We're really trying to look at our end-to-end digital focus on supply chain. What are the trends that we've seen from customers so that we're preparing to make products? What's the demand we're getting directly from customers? And then what's the most efficient way to ship those? And then if they're having those type of issues on shipping, logistics, you know, we view ourselves as a full service company. So it just doesn't take a product and operate or use, but how can we also partner with companies on different ways to make sure that shipping logistics occurs? Because as you said, the constraints are like, I've been working for 35 years. I've never seen anything like it. With inflation, some of the environmental issues with the Ukraine, COVID, I've never seen anything like it. So we try to partner and we try to be a full service to our organizations and our customers. Customer always at the center.
That's really extraordinary. And having the vision that this is, we're living through times that we've never even imagined. And hopefully we'll never have to imagine anymore. But now that we're in it and hopefully getting through it, it certainly has led within Elanco, I'm sure, to some innovative ways to improve the supply chain, to minimize those disruptions. The Bayer Animal Health acquisition, of course, is enormous with the direct-to-customer capabilities that you now have. Prior to that, just to help our audience, which is around the world, understand a little bit, before the Bayer acquisition, if people needed help with medications or treatments for their pets or for their livestock or their herds, they had to effectively go see the doctor, go to the veterinarian's office, or have the veterinarian come out to the farm. Now that's enabled in a brand new way, direct to the customer. Are there other things that Elanco is looking at too, maybe on the supply chain research side, or with ERP systems or anything like that that improves the efficiencies for, as you said, the customer-centric business?
Yeah, I think so. So first of all, with any crisis or any issue, you actually can accelerate improvement. So while these are probably the toughest 2 years that I've ever seen in my 30+ year career, I think it's probably accelerated us to look at how we do business in a different way. So one of the things that we've talked about is the digital world, or the end-to-end supply chain. So we're trying to really work and connect ourselves within our organization from what are the trends that we've seen in demand, what are the forecasts that we see. You might have complaints, and how do you proactively see those complaints and drive those improvements? How are you partnering with different consumers where they may want a particular label, obviously approved from a regulatory perspective? How you might ship differently to the distribution centers, which allows to help an organization get its product faster. So I'd say it's all around this digital ecosystem of what do we know that the customer wants just by the tracking and the trends, and then how do you then partner with those companies to ensure those products? And most importantly for us, we were part of Eli Lilly and Company. We purchased and acquired Bayer Animal Health, and with that came multiple ERP systems, okay, and multiple IT systems of how you run the organization. And we're in process to moving to one system. So we've moved off the Eli Lilly system and are in the Elanco environment. Now we're taking the Bayer system, and Bayer had multiple instances, multiple systems. So we're combining those. So in 22, 23, you get down to a single instance. That allows better response internally, demand, forecasting, information, but it also helps our customers in terms of one source of a receipt, a payment, a shipping log, and we're really driving from that efficiency that way. Additionally, as we think about it, we're now benchmarking to say, how do we best operate internally to help our customer externally? And we're doing that work now so that when you put in these tools and these systems, we'll be much more efficient, optimized, and a better customer providing organization as we get into one overall system. I see many companies that run multiple systems. I get it, but it doesn't really optimize how you best run internally. And ultimately, we're about the customer. How do we best run externally?
I think that's so great. As you're describing the multiple systems that come with the integration of multiple large-scale operations, like the spinoff of Elanco from Eli Lilly. I remember actually visiting Elanco as your new IT system was about to go online the following week, integrating then Bayer Animal Health and their multiple systems. It's almost like taking a bowl of spaghetti and trying to separate out all of the noodles and have them run in parallel lines from an efficiency perspective. That's just sort of a graphic way of describing also for our audience what it means, for a large corporation to be set up to be more customer focused, so that the transparent view that a customer has anywhere in the world of, I need this product for flea treatments, or I need this vaccination for egg supplies, or for disease prevention,
vaccines, therapeutics, what have you. Yes,
all of that. It helps them to know that you guys have this now all aligned moving forward, which is a very complex operation.
Yeah, it's not easy, but I would really thank the people at Elanco. They've been fantastic. It comes down to people at the end of the day, and they've worked really hard to really make this the most efficient way.
And it's the people who are working in the service of the animals, which I also find to be a very important component of the work that Elanco does, from that almost like a mental health and companionship perspective, the importance that you all place on people having comfort pets around the world.
The cause at Elanco is paramount. It really is. And I know people say that, but the cause of companionship and access to proteins for people is paramount. And it drives from our CEO, Jeff Simmons, but it goes everywhere for this company. It's why we are what we are, and it's why it's a great place to be. It's really about the cause.
So wonderful. Before we close out our conversation, I'm wondering if there's anything else that you'd like to add in terms of technology and the animal kingdom and the global situation we find ourselves in today as it relates to the heartland and to where we are, albeit virtually in Kentucky. We all certainly know that Kentucky is the land of horses and racing, but it's also vast agriculture and certainly a whole lot of pets, which is true throughout where all of us are across the heartland.
Well, I guess I would say that the need for a strong animal health sector has never been more important. The companionship to animals, the health of our animals has never been more evident these last 2 years. The needs for protein, and you see the things happening throughout the world, has never been more important. We just donated some money to the Ukraine area for food banks. I'm fortunate to be part of the Indiana Food Bank. So that is critically important in the environment. And, in today's environment, with all the challenges with COVID, the challenges with inflation, the challenges with a lot of the environmental issues going on, it's never more important to really lean in and work with the key people that drive things, collaborate with our customers, collaborate with our freight forwarders. The best thing that we can do is educate ourselves into the current environment, understand what's happening, and try to stay ahead of it. So when I think of material availability right now, we're no longer just at the first rung of our provider, but we're sometimes going 2 or 3 layers. One of the big challenges has been aluminum and paper, believe it or not. So we're not only working with our packaging providers, but we're working with the providers that provide the pulp, that provide the forestry to do that work, to provide that. So we've had to go to another level, both strategically and tactically, to try to understand what's happening. And then the real key for us is just learning. So communities and events like this, where you learn from others, it doesn't have to be the pharmaceutical industry. It can be the trucking industry, the auto industry. It can be a variety of places. How do we learn so that we can put the best supply chains? Supply chains are generic in one sense. They're complex. In the pharma business, you're going to have a higher security, you're going to have a higher chill room capabilities, but still getting things from point A to point B is very common in terms of how we do business. So how we learn from each other, how we try to take the best practice is really critical. And sessions like this really help that learning. So, I worked for Eli Lilly and Company for almost 30 years. I went over to Elanco. I've never been prouder with what both companies have done, either pharmaceuticals for human beings, sustaining life, improving lives, saving lives, or at Elanco, where the cause is so important of protein and access to meat, milk, and eggs for folks, and companionship. Again, if you saw, there's 2 little French bulldogs running around, and I would have never thought that companionship was that real, but they are incredible, from a stress relief, from a connection, no judgment, always loving you. And it is so important. So what we do in the animal health business is important. And supply chain is a foundational capability for us to be successful.
Dave, this has been such an illuminating conversation. Thank you very much for everything that Elanco does. It is one of the largest companies in the world. It's also absolutely at the forefront of animal health. And for that, we're all grateful to you. You can find Elanco at elanco.com, elanco.com. And Dave, we wish you all good things. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. And thanks everyone for joining.